Mary Donaldson made a heartfelt confession during an interview in which she revealed what upset her the most when changing her life. A few days ago, Mary Donaldson, 51, broke her silence for the first time after exclusive photos of her husband Frederick de Denmark with Genoveva Casanova were published by Lectures magazine. After years of being one of the most reputable and beloved couples of European royalty, the future heirs to the Danish crown are at a crossroads, with rumors of strained family relationships growing louder and louder. Far from the academia, galas and fundraising events of the society in which she now socializes, the princess grew up away from the elite schools, sports or elitist gatherings that have shaped many of her peers in other countries. He was born in Hobart, Tasmania, 10,000 miles from Copenhagen, in 1972. His father was John Dalglish Donaldson, a professor of applied mathematics and the son of a Scottish fisherman who emigrated to Australia in 1963 with his late mother Henrietta, who was an executive assistant at the University of Tasmania, today married to story writer Susan Moody. That's why, in an interview he gave to the Financial Times, he confessed to what was one of the greatest sorrows he experienced when he belonged to the royal household. And while the glamour surrounding the crown princess has not diminished media interest all this time, during the week of festivities leading up to her wedding, when she was formally presented to the Danes, she wore one magnificent ball gown after another, put together with the jewels that Desiree Clary wore at Napoleon's coronation in 1804, the truth is that Mary resents having to be in evening dress. It was clear from the beginning that there were expectations about how to dress and how to make it appropriate for the event, explained the crown princess, who is now accustomed to wearing whatever she is given, jeweled jewelry, white crosses and diamond-encrusted insignia of the Order of the Elephant, when he has to perform his official duties. It really discouraged me. I was the girl who wore a t-shirt and shorts and went barefoot, she admitted. Of course, in the following years, she wanted to focus her style, abandoning skirt suits and delicate dresses and favoring loose representative clothing. Fortunately, even though she's not very comfortable dressing up, the truth is that it makes the most critical of her very happy. As a future queen, Her Royal Highness's ability to dress appropriately for her position and yet modern has always struck me as particularly impressive, explained Paul Smith, a longtime friend of Crown Prince Frederick. She has the confidence to dress authoritatively, as her role requires, but in a way that is relevant today. She always dresses like a princess, but she never dresses like a princess. She could make ripped jeans look regal, he added about his style. Mary Donaldson's worst moments. Although those words about the embarrassment of her entrance into the Danish royal household were said years ago, the truth is that her entry into the family was a big change for Mary. And while it is not known for certain whether this big difference in life was partly one of the reasons that caused her depression, the truth is that a few days ago, the Danish establishment admitted that the future heiress suffered from the condition. The crown princess has worked for many years to combat depression and pay attention to mental health, they quoted verbatim without giving any further information about it. At the same time, nature and the importance of caring for it is an integral part of the princess' life and work, the royal house concludes, promoting a program in which the monarch has opened up more than ever before about nature, mental health. That's what happens with pain. If you don't accept it, it can become a complex grief that affects your quality of life and health, says the princess in the midst of a media storm about her new appearance. We all need help from time to time. But it's important that you don't let others define you. Who you are and what you are, she candidly explains. The protagonists of the photos exclusively published by Lectures were Federico de Dania, 55, and Genoveva Casanova, 47, there was another name that has since resounded. Mary Donaldson, 51, the Crown Prince's wife and mother of his children, was the center of attention. What do you think of the pictures of your husband and the Mexican woman in Madrid? What was the conversation between the two of you when you discovered the photos? How do you feel? Gradually, information began to emerge about how the couple and the Danish royal household are handling the situation. Although the main option of the entire royal family was to shield themselves and not comment, Federico and Maria eventually spoke out about it. The Queen's son Margaret briefly responded to a reporter on the topic, and Mary was interviewed by Nature and Our Mind, where she spoke about mental health and how to cope with pain. In fact, to facilitate this collaboration, the royal household reported that Mary Donaldson suffered from depression and therefore felt entitled to speak on the subject. An attitude that reveals something deeper. And since the controversy broke, Mary has not stopped making great efforts to appear normal. With the exception of a couple of days out of the public eye after King Philip VI and Letitia's visit, the Princess of Denmark continued her institutional agenda, Spartan and clear. Although she was fully aware that everyone's eyes analyze every gesture, word or glance, Christian's mother, 18, showed up at every event where she was required to. Not only that, the Australian did not change her attitude to these events in the slightest. The future Queen of Denmark, far from feeling shy or pressured, played her role gracefully and elegantly. The clearest example was his final appearance at a Christmas reception honoring members of his foundation at Frederick's palace in Amalienborg. Mary seemed happy and relaxed as we had not seen each other for weeks. He took an interest in the guests and chatted animatedly with them while everyone was looking at the Christmas decorations in the hall where the event was held. Maintaining this attitude and attending all the scheduled events without missing a single one is proof of the great effort the Danish princess is making to get back to normal and get on with her life. Perhaps even the interview in which she talks honestly about her emotional state is a way to heal, to close the wound that all these controversies have created and move forward, showing her best self. Frederick from Denmark talks about his photos with Genoveva Casanova. Since the controversy began, the position of the Danish royal house and all its members has been one of circumspection and silence. A few hours after receiving the news, the Royal House of Denmark issued a brief statement and nothing more since. However, Federico did not wish to remain silent any longer and spoke out about the scandalous photos. As reported by El Otro Mundo, in his last public appearance, the heir to the Danish throne would choose to come forward and talk about it, even if he just realized the enormity of the news. Apparently, a Danish journalist asked him about the scandalous photos, as reported by Swedish media outlet Svenskdam.se. Crown Prince Frederick, do you have any comment on what the Spanish media has published? Faced with this question, Federico would answer with two simple words, I don't have one. A short answer, but one that makes it clear what he wants to do with this whole situation, an absolute vindication and not giving details that give rise to more speculation with statements. Mary Donaldson spoke of grief and pain after the pictures of Federico and Genoveva. Mary Donaldson has kept aloof and silent since the scandal surrounding the images of Federico and Genevieve Casanova broke. However, the royal did not wish to remain silent any longer and gave an interview to the magazine Nature and Our Mind, in which she opened up on many topics as never before. Mental health, in particular, took a key place in this conversation. The princess's words made complete sense when looking at the context in which her life is now. This is what happens with pain. If you don't accept it, it can become complicated grief that affects your quality of life and your health, the Australian says serenely and calmly. Right off the bat, he assures that sometimes you need to know when to seek help. Of course, she says, it's important not to let others define you. Who you are and what you are. Without any hesitation, Christian's mother from Denmark went on to talk about how a difficult and painful situation can seriously affect your mental health. Some of the words that were inevitably associated with going through a bad experience. For her to publish pictures of Federico with Genoveva. Grief is something we carry with us. She was sincere and touched. These statements refer to a preview of the full interview that Tard AR had access to, which we've all been waiting to hear a little more about the woman behind the title. The curiosity in life is to fail and move on. We think too much about what others think and feel. I wish we could let go of that a little bit, he says sincerely in a calm voice. Further proof that he is committed to getting on with his life despite what others say and do. Mary clearly knows her path and tries to follow it.